Welcome to Feeding Ambitions, live-ish from Spill the Beans, Volume 7 Freeform Edition. And we are welcome and excited to have Sanjay Sood-Smith from Pesto with us today.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Loving the event.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. We've got to the afternoon now, so that's kind of a real testament. People first thing in the morning would be like, I don't know yet. But so how are you having a good time?
Yeah, really good. And it's really cool to see such incredible brands. And it's really great to see particularly like brands from founders with like diverse and underrepresented backgrounds really being champions, which is fantastic.
Amazing. That's what we're all about. So do you want to give us a quick intro into yourself and Pesto?
Yes, so I am one of the co-founders of Pesto. We are software that gives challenger food and drink brands the operational firepower that is usually reserved for the FMCG giants. Basically, myself and my co-founder Kate both come from food manufacturing backgrounds. So I co-founded a company called Tuckin, which is an Indian ready meal brand, and Kate co-founded a company called Grow Up Farms, which is a vertical farming business that sells salads called Unbelievable.
Unbelievable is a great, I love a good pun name.
So Pesto is really the software that we wish we had when we were running our brands, because Tuckin's still going, and my co-founder Tom has been running it for himself for the past 7 years or so, and has done an incredible job scaling it into retail. But when you start out, there's really nothing accessible to help brands like run their operations. And actually, when you start a food and drink brand, you do it because you're passionate about the products that you're creating, and you want to bring the thing that you're passionate about to as many people as possible. You're not passionate about entering data into spreadsheets and creating invoicing. And so we really exist to take away the boring headache stuff that people don't want to do, so that they can focus on the stuff that's exciting and that is actually going to help them to grow their brand and get more sales and get more listings.
And it's a consistency as well. I think that sometimes I notice that. So I work a lot with founders through Colin, through this department, the teams that we work with here, and I can see that sometimes it can change how a business works if you don't have that consistent, ongoing, invoicing or admin side done, because you just don't have the time when you're a founder, do you?
And there's so many risks involved, because if you think about just something as simple as order management, that is the core of what you're delivering to when you start getting retail listings, be it in independent shops or with the bigger retailers. Your service levels are everything. And so if you make mistakes or mess up on invoicing or mess up on your orders, then that's a really quick route to getting delisting. And also it becomes a cash flow issue as well, because it's one of those boring tasks that you just put off and off and off. But actually, when you've got payment terms with your retailers, and then you've got to pay your suppliers, and then your cash flow gets tight, actually the difference between bulk invoicing at the end of the month and invoicing as you go really starts to add up. So we're just here to make things a little bit easier.
It does definitely sound like a really necessary product. So how did you find moving from sort of having a food startup to a software? I mean, that's quite a shift.
Yeah, so I guess what's really great is being grounded in, we have experienced the problems, and we kind of have a really good feel for what founders need, and so we can start building that. But then we work really closely with our customers as well to explore what they need, because actually it's been sort of 7 years since I was in Tuckin, so I'm a bit more removed from it. So it's really great and to work directly with them to understand what their pain points are. But then we have our third co-founder, Amish, who's the technical brains, or just the brains of the team, who is the one that is able to translate those challenges and those problems and the solutions that we're providing into actual working technology to solve those problems.
That's such a cool dream team. So I love that. That's sort of really that you're putting your own validation in there and understanding it from your own perspective and more people as well.
Yeah, and AI as well is such a buzzword at the moment. And so we're using AI as part of our process. So for example, we will extract information directly from purchase orders automatically and be able to categorize it so that people don't have to manually extract that information. But a lot of people, I think, don't really know where to start with AI.
It's a bit of a big scope and to actually be able to give something functionally to the people that's using it.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful
And
tool.
it's only as good as the data infrastructure that you have behind it, right? So, and like my favorite quote about AI, I saw it. I think it was like a viral tweet by an author who said that she doesn't want AI to do her art so she has more time for laundry and dishes. She wants AI to do her laundry and dishes so she has more time to do her art. And it's, you know, we don't want to take away all the creativity that goes into creating amazing brands. Yeah. But what you want is something that's going to make the boring stuff easier. And actually it just means that, you know, before, like if I think 10 years ago when you're starting out and you have all these questions about what is a batch code, or, you know, what is an EDI system that you need for retailers, like there's a lot that you don't know. And actually just be able to have that information at your fingertips to go and ask those questions to without having to hunt down different people to ask is a real resource as well.
So how do they use the software to answer those questions? Are there resources online as well as sort of functionality?
Yeah, so we're not. So when I talk about that, I mean like using like ChatGPT or something. So we don't try and emulate what ChatGPT does there. But what we're building out the functionality to do is because we'll have all of our customers' data around their sales and then their supply chains. And so we'll be able to have all their data around gross margins, and we're building AI functionality that will then help them to interrogate their data within the Pesto system. So that actually one of the things that we found talking to founders is they're a bit nervous about plugging a load of their data and information into ChatGPT. That's
the lack of consistency. Yes. Sorry.
And so actually if we can have something where their data is completely secure within our system, but then we have AI functionality within Pesto that is able to then help them get the answers they need from that information that is proprietary to them, that'll be a huge win.
And that could be a really impressive way for them to scale a bit more quickly as well. I mean, and obviously I know sustainable growth is a really powerful thing, but for a small business, it can make a huge difference, like you say, to the margins, isn't it? If they can grow just that little bit faster and then sort of innovate quicker and iterate quicker, then they can actually get the things they need to do done and their products on the shelf.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
And then like our vision is to like start thinking about how does, like, for the future of the food system. So we're really passionate about how can we, like, we're starting off with some of the like boring operational process because we know that they are real pain for founders that we can solve quickly. But where we want to get to is how do you start providing people with all the information they need to make decisions about their businesses in one place? So not just about the financial metrics, but also around sustainability metrics and nutrition, so that all the decision making that they're doing is in one place, and they can see how the impact of tweaking that recipe will change the nutritional profile and the sustainability and the carbon emissions of their products, and how like what that means for their sales metrics, and understanding when they go on promotion what's the uplift in sales they get from running certain promotions, so they can have really all that information that they need to make informed, good commercial decisions, but also broader food system decisions as well.
That's really interesting, especially because I think a lot of people go into a business learning on the go, and they have to keep learning as they're developing. And I think that's a really functionally, like, really supportive thing to be able to have, like, to actually be able to get that knowledge firsthand and all in one place is really cool. You were saying earlier about potentially like procurement. Is there elements of that's included in the software yet? Or is that something you're working on?
Yeah, so we're working on that at the moment, which is like this more supply chain side of things as well, so that people can start to understand that ordering process. Because what's been really interesting is how different, like the very different models that a lot of food producers have. Yeah. So whether they're outsourcing their manufacturing, whether they're using a 3PL, whether they're doing in-house manufacturing, whether they're using distributors, whether they've got warehouses, whether they've got multiple suppliers who they might have one product being produced by 3 different suppliers, and how do they break up their orders? Are they are they manufacturing to order, or are they manufacturing to forecast? There's so much complexity and difference in how people operate their businesses, and what like our challenge and what's really exciting about what we're doing is how do you simplify that so that you can have a system that works for you no matter no matter what model you're following.
Amazing. So how do potential or new or even more established founders find you?
You can go to our website, heypesto.ai, or look us up and reach out on LinkedIn, Sanjay Sood-Smith, and we'd be happy to chat.
Exciting. And so what's the sort of like first steps of their usage with the platform? Like, do you take on people at all sizes of brand, or is it...
So we're really focusing on kind of the challenger brands side of things. So I'd say less than 20 million in revenue, but all the way up from, say, 50,000 in revenue, and we offer different packages depending on how much the brand is, depending on the revenue of the brand. So we've got like a startup package to help support much smaller brands, so that they can get that infrastructure in place early on, because it's a lot harder. You think you don't need a system, and then all of a sudden you'd be amazed at some of the brands we've spoken to are big brands, and they're still running off like 17 spreadsheets, and it becomes a lot harder to untangle that later on. Whereas actually, if you get the right structure in place from the start, it makes your life a lot easier later on and down the line.
Getting rid of the confusing spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Amazing. So do you think that sustainability is on the minds of the founders that are approaching you and you're working with?
I think everyone cares about sustainability and everyone cares about the nutritional profile of products, but the reality is, for most founders at the moment, is that they're just trying to make a margin, and there's so many like challenges that are being thrown at food and drink brands, and they're really at the mercy of the retail relationships that they have, and it's tough for people. And so their number one priority is being profitable and being able to make money. And so of course sustainability is important to them, but they don't necessarily see it as like a burning issue right now. But I think what we'll see over the next few years is, as retailers are more and more focusing on sustainability, and they've been mandated to start looking at their scope 3 emissions, for example, and they're mainly focusing on the much bigger FMCG brands at the moment, because they're the ones who that's the biggest lever they can pull. But for brands, like more and more, I think increasingly sustainability will become almost a hygiene factor that they'll have to show. So it's not even about necessarily being a point of differentiation anymore. When they're going to these retail buyers to talk about their products, they will get asked those questions, and when they're going through the onboarding process and stuff, they'll be asked around those credentials. And so it might not seem like a pressing issue right now, but I think over the next couple of years it will become increasingly more important to just get on the shelves and stay on the shelves.
No, 100%, especially for founders who've got that little bit extra to prove. I think sometimes if you're smaller, they really need, I know it's not a point of differentiation like you say, but it's building it in from the beginning can be really impactful as a sort of sustainable practice. It becomes sort of second nature, whereas if you've got to add it on later on down the line, it's a bit more difficult to suddenly change an entire practice, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's if you look at, for example, how vegan and vegetarian trends have gone, and I know you had the person from the Vegetarian Society speaking earlier, and what she was saying about actually how there's been a bit of a decline in the offerings of vegan and vegetarian like specific foods or accredited foods. And I think because it's almost become like people aren't branding necessarily their products as vegan or vegetarian, they're branding their products as another thing that you can have that isn't meat, so that it's encouraging the wider audience to have it. So it's not just this is just for vegans or this is just for vegetarians. It's about how do you introduce things like beans, like what Bold Bean Co are doing into your daily, or Dr. Ando from Better Nature was talking about it as well. Like how do you just encourage people to eat slightly differently, and it doesn't necessarily mean people have to make a complete shift in the way they're eating, but just little changes here and there.
Yeah, amazing, especially with things like gut health and well-being trends as well. So I think that's really important. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing such valuable insight. I think people who are listening and watching, which way you're doing it, will find a lot. And like you say, you can find you at heypesto.ai. Yes?
That is right.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sanjay, for joining us. Cheers.